Alrighty students, it's Mr. Arevalo with another brand new lesson, and for today's lesson we're going to be focusing on box 1, 10.7, find and draw lines of symmetry, okay? So this is basically an extension or continuation of yesterday's lesson. Okay, however, in yesterday's lesson, they drew the line for you. So in today's lesson, we pretty much have to draw the line for ourselves and look at the object and tell how many lines of symmetry it has, okay? So going into box 2, our mathematical practice, for today's MP, we are definitely going to be focusing on MP3, which is justify and critique. And remember, this is backing up whatever your answer is with details. So if Mr. Arevalo asks you, what the answer is, and then you give it to me, and then I say justify it, that's when you explain to me with supporting evidence, right? And the supporting evidence can be your actual work or, an actual explanation, okay? It's not just simply saying what the answer is, but it's also explaining why it's the answer, how you got it, okay? Going into box 3, our purpose. Today we will identify and draw lines of symmetry. Oops. E-T-R-Y in two-dimensional figures. And I'll give you some time to go ahead and write that down. Alrighty, and I think that's plenty of time. On the bow, you know what to do, starting with the word today in 3, 2, and today we will identify and draw lines of symmetry in two-dimensional figures. Awesome, awesome, awesome job, class. Great job on that, okay? Going into box 4, this is our APK, activating that prior knowledge from the previous lesson, okay? So the instructions for our box 4 read as, tell if the dashed line appears to be a line of symmetry. Alrighty, so if I'm looking at my first shape, and I'm kind of following it down this line, okay, we can see it's a monkey, or the face of a monkey, I should say, and there's a line that's splitting it vertically, okay? So, yes, okay, for our first one, this is definitely yes, okay? And the reason is because when this line splits the monkey's face, okay, it actually splits it into two equal shapes, okay, two equal parts. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. Going on into our next shape, well, let me just explain too for the monkey. We said yes because, the shape has all of the same details on both sides. So you would have one eye, one part of the smile, one ear, okay, but you would have that on both sides. So kind of keep that in mind. So now going into our next APK problem, we have an image or a shape of a car, okay? And then we have another line, dashed line, going straight down it in vertical, right? Vertically, I should say. Okay, and it's asking, will this line be a line of symmetry? Meaning, does this line cut the object into two equal parts? Okay, and the answer to this is no. Okay, and now if I'm justifying why, it is simply because, well, there's a couple of reasons actually. So, for example, you can more or less kind of tell that this window is smaller than this window. Okay, so it does not produce those two equal parts. And then two, you have this empty space right here on the front of the car, which back here there's no space right there, okay? Plus, in addition to that, you have a bumper in the front, okay? In the back you don't have that. So again, there's just multiple reasons why this is not a line of symmetry, okay? It's based off of the actual shape of the car, okay? It does not have all the same details in the two parts that are split. So going on into our box 5 vocabulary terms. So our first vocabulary term is going to be, and this is not a new one, okay? It's the same from continuation of yesterday. It is line symmetry. M-M-E-T-R-Y, line symmetry. And this is when a shape can be cut, or we can say split in half, perfectly with two equal parts. Okay? So if I'm looking over here, I have my triangle, and you can kind of see that this is a line of symmetry because it cuts the triangle in half and it produces two equal parts when we fold it. Okay? Going into my next vocabulary term, I have parallel, right? Parallel lines. Okay? And parallel lines are lines that are always the same distance apart and never touch. Okay? So what I mean by being the same distance apart, you can kind of see right here, these lines are always going to stay this same distance apart. No matter how long these lines go for infinity, okay, they will never, ever touch. Okay? I have this line going in this way and this line going in this way. So just kind of keep in mind too that when we're writing this out, like the actual symbol for parallel lines, it's just two lines. Okay? Going on into our last vocabulary term, we have perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines. Okay? And these are lines that cross, or we can say intersect, okay? That cross to form right angles. For example, okay, I have my line over here that's crossing this line over here, and they're forming these right angles right inside. It's going to look like a square, okay? Each of those are right angles, so kind of keep that in mind. And two, what I want you to understand is that the symbol, the mathematical symbol for perpendicular lines is one line going straight down and then a little line going across it. It looks like an upside down T. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. So great job on those vocabulary terms. Let's go ahead and go into box 6, which is our critical attribute, or the main component of today's lesson. So again, this is an extension of yesterday's lesson. It's not really new. It's just taking the skills that we learned and kind of going and using them a little bit differently than yesterday. So for step 1, we're going to look at the shape. So in this case, I have the shape, or an object, right? I have a ladybug, okay? So now, we're going to determine if the shape has 0, 1, or more than one line of symmetry. So remember, a line of symmetry is when a shape can be cut in half perfectly with two equal parts. Mr. Arevalo, does it matter how we cut that shape? It does not matter, okay? For instance, you can cut it vertically like this, and you can kind of see this one was cut vertically, okay? And this does produce two equal parts like that, okay? So can we cut this shape in any other way that would produce two equal parts? For example, let me try with a different color. I'll do it with the green going straight across the middle like this. Okay, and this green one actually does not work, okay? And the reason, okay, is because of the ladybug's head, this part right here, okay? When it folds, because it has the head on that top end, okay, it will not match perfectly. If it had an end on the bottom of it as well, then it would, but that'd be a weird ladybug to have one head sticking out on both ends, okay? I've never seen that in my life, and I don't think I'd want to see that. It's kind of weird, okay? So, then our last step for this is we write 0 if it has 0 lines of symmetry. We write 1 if it only has one line of symmetry, or we write more than 1, okay? And this ladybug only has 1, okay? And that's why I simply wrote 1 right there. And that's it, okay? It's simply looking at the shape and determining how many lines of symmetry it has. But again, you're going to have to test that shape out by drawing the actual lines, okay? Because they won't be there for you. Like yesterday, they were there for you. So going into box 7, our example, it says, tell how many lines of symmetry the shape has. So for my first shape, first object, right, I have a flamingo, okay? And if I'm looking at this flamingo has a weird shape to it, okay? And just based off of this, for example, if I were to try to draw a line going straight down it like this, it would not produce two equal parts, okay? If I were to try to draw a line going horizontally across it like that, again, it would not produce any it would not produce two equal parts. So because of this, and its odd shape, it has zero lines of symmetry. Okay? Going on to our next shape. Alrighty, it seems like it's a diamond, right? Inside of a circle. Okay, and for this, we are again going to test it. So when we test it, I recommend start by drawing a line vertically. It's easy to see. So when I draw it vertically straight down it, I can see that I do have two equal parts, a left side and a right side that are both equal. So that tells me right away that's one line of symmetry. Okay. Now, if I do it horizontally going like this, okay, I can see another line of symmetry if I were to fold it up and down like that, okay? So it would fit perfectly. So for this one, it has more than THAN, because we're comparing, right? More than 1, okay? And then I would just circle that. You don't have to say 2, 3, 4, 5, just say more than 1, okay? Because why? The instructions want you to say that, okay? So it's very important that we attend to precision, which is mathematical practice 6. And by doing that, that also tells us that we need to check our work, but also we need to make sure that we check the instructions, okay? Just to make sure that we're doing what it's asking us to do and not doing anything else. Alrighty, going into box 8, our non-example. Where is the mistake? So there's this picture of a head, we'll say a robot's head, okay? And they are saying that this shape has 0 lines of symmetry. So go ahead and talk to your partner, try to figure out where's the mistake at right here, okay? And after talking to your partner, you should have figured out that the mistake is that if I try drawing a line of symmetry going straight down it vertically, it does produce two equal parts. It produces a left side that's equal to the right side, okay? If I were to try to draw it horizontally, it would not produce two equal parts, okay? But if I were to go straight up and down, I do get those two equal parts. So this does not have 0, it actually has 1, okay? There's one line of symmetry, not 0, okay? So, again, I would just kind of write it out. You can put it just a number 1 like that. I'm okay with that for right now. Alrighty, okay? And hopefully you're able to get that, you and your partner. But remember, justify your response. Don't just give the answer. Let's justify it. And 2, critique your partner's response. Is what they're saying correct, okay? And if it's not correct, give them some feedback. Help them out, okay? Going on into box 9, our critical attribute connection. So steps. Step 1, we are going to look at the shape. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the shape. Step 2, we are going to determine if the shape, right, if the shape has 0, 1, or more than 1 line of symmetry. Okay. Go ahead and write that down. Going into step 3, we are going to write 0, obviously. I'll put a little 0 right there for us, just to kind of remind us. 0, 1, or more than 1, okay? More than 1. Alrighty. So going on into box 10, our sample problems. Does the design have line symmetry? Okay, we're going to write yes, or we are going to write no. So again, these instructions are a little bit different, okay? Hopefully you notice that. They're not asking for how many lines of symmetry. They're just asking simply, is it yes, it has a line of symmetry, or no? So going into our first object, first shape of Frankenstein's head, I'm going to test this out by drawing my line of symmetry. Okay. Line of symmetry. And this is kind of a tricky one, okay? But I would say that this does not have a line of symmetry. This is no, okay? So this Frankenstein head was definitely a tricky one, okay? So it was no. Now let me justify why. Okay, the reason that this was no was because of a couple of little details that you might have noticed or you might have missed, right? The first detail, right here with this little hairline, you can kind of see it kind of goes like this. There's a little jagged edge to it. Okay, now if I'm comparing that hairline to this, you can kind of see the pattern is different. It does not follow the same pattern. Okay, so on one side, the pattern's a little bit bigger. Okay, you can kind of more or less see that. And two, actually, if you're looking right here at this kind of space right here, there's more space right here than there is right here. Okay, and actually one other little thing that I see right here is you can even see right here with the mouth, okay, the stitches in its mouth aren't even equal, okay? You can more or less kind of see it right there. So now, going into our next example, okay, I have this penguin, and we're, again, going to cut it in half vertically, just like this, okay? And based off of that, I would say yes. However, some of you may be a little bit more technical than I am, and you might say, but Mr. Arevalo, if you're looking at its eyes right here, okay, this eye and this eye, technically it would not be symmetrical because of the eyes, okay? And you can more or less kind of see this eye's facing that way and this eye's facing that way. So some of you might say something about the eyes, but that doesn't bug me too much, okay? Because overall, if we were to fold the penguin in half, that would definitely be yes, okay? And that's it, okay? So going into our recap, today we identified and drew lines of symmetry in two-dimensional figures, okay? Going on into our collaborative work and homework, you are to focus on the share and show problems 6 through 12 and number 19 on pages 427 through 428. Your homework is to do all of 10.7 except 9, 10, or 11, okay? You don't have to do the ones where it says draw a shape for the statement. You can ignore that, okay? With that said, I hope you found the lesson simple, easy, and enjoyable, okay? Thank you. See you in the next lesson. Bye.